We're going to go into strength training for handball, and we're going to start right now. Okay, so the first thing we've got to do when we're thinking about strength training for handball, first, let's just open this up. We are training handball players to be good at handball. Okay, we are not training them to be bodybuilders, to be shot putters, to be powerlifters, to be weightlifters. We are training them for the sport of handball. So when we're looking at the sport, we know it's going to be extremely explosive. We know there's some locomotion involved. There's a lot of jumping. There's a lot of shoulder stability. It's a high-speed sport. This has to be the lens that we actually look at the sport of handball and how we're going to lay out that strength training program. And then when we're dialing even deeper, we're going to look, okay, there is going to be some endurance. There's probably going to be some issues around ankle support, knee support, things along those lines, right? So that's that next key factor. So when we're looking at that overarching lens, okay, when we laid out the handball strength training program inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength, we had to look at it through being explosive, the trunk control that we need to focus on to make that shoulder a little bit more stable, the stability that we need inside the knees and the joints of the ankles as well, and then a little bit of that endurance factor. That's what's going to lead to that overarching development. And so that takes us into the first key thing, is to identify those characteristics. So the characteristics for the sport now we're looking at strength characteristics. So we're going to focus on something like blast impulse. Blast impulse is we need to recruit and be as explosive as possible. So when we're thinking about exercises, that could be a power clean, that could be a hurdle hop, a broad jump, even to a point developing max strength. So like a single leg squat, then we're going to be using something like a contrast method to then lead to further development of that blast impulse. The next aspect, the second key aspect, is going to be sustained impulse. Okay, so if we can think about blast impulse as something that's going to be done in a half of a second, super twitchy, super explosive, right? Sustained impulse might be done through a period of 5 to 10 seconds. So you got to be fast and explosive for 5 to 10 seconds. That's where that sustained impulse comes into play. Now, the underlying aspect here would be sustained endurance. So if we're doing something for 30 to 60 seconds, we need to have some type of aerobic capacity and some type of strength endurance to deal with that sustained endurance. So after we establish the lens that we're looking through, that's when we start to dig deeper, we're mining down, we get into the strength characteristics. So the next aspect that we're going to use is now we're going to analyze, okay, where are we at with these individuals? Most handball players are slightly weaker, I think along the lines of like a baseball player, than they possibly could be. They could hold grounds to be a little bit stronger as far as the traditional sense is concerned. I think they could be a little bit more explosive. I actually like to think about handball players almost like javelin throwers mixed with a long jumper. Okay, so we've got to look at that key factor. So then we can look at it and say, okay, where are these individuals at on this benchmark spectrum? Then the next thing that we can do, we know where these benchmark lifts are. Now we want to test these individuals so we can see where's their power clean, where's their back squat, where's their single leg squat, where's their vertical jump, where's their broad jump, where's their 5-10-5 shuttle, where's their 10 to 15 meter sprint. Now we look at these test results and then we start to build even more, thinking about the strength characteristics, thinking about how the actual sport is played. And then we can look at these freaks that we want to develop, right? And we say, okay, their peak date is going to be 6 months out. Okay, so they're 6 months out from a specific competition. So inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength, if you wanted to go in and select handball, you can establish that peak date and then you build your program out working backwards. Then you build it out working backwards, okay? And all of those key characteristics and all those strength qualities are then factored into that program. So then after we establish that key date, now we go through the vision. Okay, we've got a handball player here. This is what we want you to improve upon. We want you to improve your vertical jump. We want to improve your single leg squat, even external rotation in your shoulder. We want to improve the core strength in your abs. That's that next key factor. And then we're going to get into now, to do this, we need to lay out your strength training for handball. You've got to show up 4 days a week, minimum 4 days a week. I would say that 3 days a week would suffice, and you could do a day 1 leg day, a day 2 upper body day, a day 3 athlete day. So 3 days could suffice, but the expectations are you're going to focus on the training 3 to 4 days a week. You're going to focus on your nutrition. You're going to make sure you're executing these high-speed movements. You're going to make sure you're improving your pull-ups, your dumbbell benches, anything along those lines. And you're going to do that for 6 months, okay? Minimum of 6 months. And then we're going to test you again. And we're going to keep stacking up upon that. And then that's going to lead us into how we're going to build out what that actual program is looking at. So we're going to look at neural coordination and strength, Again, now we're looking at power cleans, power snatches, hang snatches, front squats, back squats, single leg squats. That's the big factor here. Then we're going to look at accessories and time under tension. So now we're looking at single leg glute ham, Y's on the incline. Again, dumbbell external rotations, dumbbell chest rows, anything along those lines that we're going to create more time under tension. Alternating dumbbell presses, that is a great movement to train the trunk and the strength in the upper body. And then we want that athlete day to be super twitchy focused. We want to improve hurdle hops, we want to improve single leg bounce, we want to improve stair jumps. We want to focus on those things because they carry over really well out to the court. And then finally, we're going to take this, we're going to implement it. We're going to implement this training system 3 to 4 days a week with those exercises, focusing on that speed that we're trying to develop, that twitchiness that we're going to try to develop. We're going to go 4 months, 5 months, train them, and then analyze again, and then go back to the beginning. Where are we at in regards to the benchmarks? Did we improve their blast impulse, their sustained impulse? Did we develop that sustained endurance? Did we lead to developing a better handball player? So these are all those key factors behind strength training for handball. If you guys need help with your training, head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store, because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.